Hello to everyone watching, especially you, the one sitting there wondering why the whole world is freaking out while you're just breathing. Yeah, you. Because apparently you're the only one who saw the storm before the clouds even showed up. Right? All right. Let's talk about that. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way people keep staring at you like you're some kind of walking spoiler alert for reality. How did you call this? How did you know? They whisper it with this shaky little voice, like you reached into the future and threw a reminder back into the present. And the crazy part is, you didn't even try. You were just paying attention. You were just awake while everybody else was busy pretending. And that kills them. See, people hate when you're right, especially when you're right early. It makes them feel late to their own lives. It makes them realize they weren't watching the signs. They weren't listening to their instincts. They weren't brave enough to say out loud what you said while the whole room was still laughing. And, it gets under their skin, doesn't it? Suddenly you're the threat. You're the anomaly. You're the one who must have some secret advantage. But you know the truth. You were just honest. And honesty terrifies people more than any villain ever could. Because when you call something before anyone sees it, you expose their blindness. You expose how much they rely on denial just to get through the day. You expose how fragile their confidence is. You expose the way they cling to comfort, like a child clinging to a nightlight. And you walked into the dark with both eyes open, and that's what separates you. See, they'll call you lucky. They'll call you weird. They'll call you dramatic. They'll call you intense. Anything but what you actually are. Ahead. Present. Uncomfortably aware. You're not just predicting, you're observing. You're not just guessing, you're decoding. You're not just reacting, you're responding. You've been through too much to miss the details. You've survived too much to ignore patterns. You've been cut too deeply not to recognize the shape of the knife when you see it again. So when the world shifts, even a little, you feel it like a sudden drop in temperature. Others feel vibes. You feel warnings, others sense tension. You sense trajectory. And that's why they freak out. Because you keep seeing things they're not ready to admit. And every time you're right, it forces them to confront the fact that maybe, just maybe, you're not the one who's different. Maybe they're the ones who've been asleep. And oh, they hate that idea. People don't want you to be right before it happens. They want you to be right after, nice and safe, with hindsight, with a crowd, with permission. But you open your mouth before the smoke appears, and suddenly you're the one setting off alarms nobody else wants to hear. You ever notice how your accuracy makes them uncomfortable? How your clarity makes them defensive? How your awareness makes them suspicious? They start asking who you're talking to, what you're reading, what you're tapped into. Like the only way you can see things is if someone invisible is whispering the script to you. Because the idea that you're just naturally sharp, naturally intuitive, naturally awake, that's too threatening for them to process. And the wildest part is, you didn't ask for this. You didn't sit there thinking, oh gee, I hope I freak people out today. Nah. This is just what happens when reality trains you the hard way. When life hands you lessons wrapped in pain, wrapped in betrayal, wrapped in silence. You didn't learn from books. You learned from broken moments. You didn't learn from lectures. You learned from losses. You didn't learn from comfort. You learned from chaos. That's why you see things before they happen. Because you've lived them before they happen. You've been through cycles. You've watched patterns repeat. You've felt energy shift. You've sensed people change before they even knew they were changing. Your awareness is not magic, it's muscle memory. But people who've never developed that muscle, they don't understand it. They can't understand it. So they label it strange. They label it dangerous. They label it unnatural. Because labeling is easier than leveling up. And, the fun part? You're not even at full power yet. You're just warming up. You're just beginning to trust your instincts. You're just starting to realize that your weird predictions are actually warnings, guidance, blueprints, premonitions born from experience. And when you start trusting yourself more than you trust their reactions, oh, that's when everything shifts. Because the moment you stop needing them to believe you is the moment your voice stops shaking. The moment your intuition stops whispering and starts roaring. The moment your identity stops shrinking to keep the peace and starts expanding to claim its space. You ever realize how heavy your silence is? How even when you're quiet, people still get nervous? How your stillness carries the weight of 1,000 observations? They're not scared of what you say. They're scared of what you notice. You walk into a room and people straighten up without knowing why. Not because you're intimidating, not because you're loud, but because something in you feels like you've already read the inside of their minds. You've already seen the next 3 moves. You've already decoded the whole atmosphere before they've even adjusted their seat. And, that's the thing. People aren't freaking out because you're unpredictable. They're freaking out because you are too predictable about everything else. You keep calling things before anyone sees them. You keep pointing at shadows before they become silhouettes. You keep connecting dots while others still don't realize a pattern exists. And deep down, they know why. They know it's not luck. They know it's not coincidence. They know it's not guessing. They know it's something born in you through pain, through pressure, through perspective. Because only people who've had everything fall apart learn how to see everything coming. Only people who've been hurt learn to analyze tone, micro movements, inconsistencies, shifting behaviors. Only people who've lived in uncertainty learn to map out possibilities before anyone mentions the risk. Only people who've been blindsided learn how to avoid blind spots. You're not predicting. You're remembering. You're recognizing. You're reliving what the world keeps repeating. People are freaking out because you're ahead of the timeline. You're narrating chapters before others finish the paragraph. You're catching red flags before they get stitched into excuses. You're noticing exits before anyone realizes the building is heating up. They think you're strange, but really, you're prepared. They think you're dramatic, but really, you're accurate. They think you're intense, but really, you're honest. And they don't know what to do with someone who refuses to ignore the truth just to fit the mood. You walk around with this calm awareness, this unsettling clarity, this vibe that says, I already know how this plays out. And people who rely on illusions hate that. People who rely on pretending hate that. People who rely on denial hate that. Your presence disrupts their comfort. Your insight disrupts their narratives. Your accuracy disrupts their excuses. And, that's why they whisper. That's why they stare. That's why they ask, how did you call this before anyone saw it? Not because they want the answer, because they're scared of what you'll say next. And the funny thing is, you can feel their eyes on you even before they say anything. That tension in the air, that tiny shift when you walk in, like everyone suddenly pretends to be busy because they don't want you noticing that they're noticing you. It's wild, right? You're just existing, just breathing, and yet they act like you're carrying classified information in your back pocket. And deep down, they're terrified you might say something else they're not ready to hear, another truth they're not prepared to face, another prediction they can't handle because, well, your track record is kinda insane at this point. And, you ever catch that awkward moment when someone asks you a simple question, but their eyes are searching you like you've hacked into reality? Like they're expecting you to reveal something that hasn't happened yet. They lean in a little, they lower their voice, they ask, "What do you think is gonna happen?" But what they mean is, "Tell me the future again, because clearly you have the cheat codes." You can sense their anxiety trying to camouflage itself as curiosity, but it's not. It's fear. It's the realization that you're the one who's been right while they've been comfortable. They don't understand yet that your clarity didn't come from comfort. It came from chaos. It came from being blindsided one too many times. It came from being underestimated until it sharpened you. It came from having to survive with eyes wide open because closing them wasn't an option. You became tuned in to patterns because ignoring them used to cost you peace. You learned the rhythms of people's behavior because you've lived through the fallout when you didn't. And, that's why the world feels predictable to you. Not because it's simple, but because you stopped pretending it's anything other than what it is. And you know what really rattles them? It's the fact that you don't even make a big deal out of being right. You're not bragging. You're not pounding on your chest. You're not trying to prove anything. You just say things, casually, like you're commenting on the weather. And then suddenly those same things unfold exactly how you said they would. And that calm delivery, that nonchalant tone, that's what spooks them. Because people are used to confidence being loud, but yours is quiet. Collected, clinical. You call things with the same tone someone uses to order coffee, and that unnerves them on a level they can't articulate. And, it's not your fault they didn't see it. It's not your job to dim your awareness just because someone else prefers the comfort of being oblivious. You've spent years training your instincts without even realizing it. Years decoding intentions behind words. Years watching how people behave when they think you're not paying attention. Years studying reactions, excuses, energy shifts, inconsistencies. While everyone else is busy chasing distractions, you're reading the room with surgical precision. That's why they freak out when your predictions land. Because they assume everyone else is functioning with the same level of awareness they have. And then here you are, operating like you downloaded the update before it was released. It exposes the gap between your perception and theirs, and that gap scares them. They don't want it to exist. They want to believe everyone is the same. Everyone sees the same things. Everyone processes the same signals. But you're proof that some people are just wired differently. There's this moment, when someone dismisses what you said at first, tries to wave it off as overthinking or paranoia. And then later, when everything starts unfolding exactly the way you mentioned, they come back with that look. That awkward, uncomfortable look. Not quite apology, not quite admiration. More like, I didn't believe you, but I wish I did. And you don't mock them. You don't rub it in. You don't say, I told you. You just let the silence speak for you. And that silence hits harder than any words ever could. And you know why? Because silence, coming from someone who sees the truth, feels like judgment without accusation. It feels like a reminder. It feels like a mirror they weren't ready to look into. And, people aren't scared of being wrong. They're scared of being wrong in front of someone who was right the whole time. You walk through life carrying this strange burden, the burden of awareness. While others walk into situations blindfolded, you walk in with a map, a compass, and a flashlight you never asked for. It's not a gift. It's not a superpower. It's the psychological scar tissue of experience. It's what happens when life forces you to grow eyes in places most people never look. And there's something else they don't realize. You're not trying to be early. You're trying to protect yourself, to stay ahead of chaos, to avoid old wounds reopening, to dodge disasters that used to hit you without warning. Your predictions aren't performances. They're survival instincts. They're emotional reflexes. They're mental habits shaped by a history nobody else had to carry. That's why people ask you how you knew. That's why they panic when you speak. That's why they whisper your name when things start to go wrong. Because deep down, they trust your instincts more than their own logic, even if they'll never admit it out loud. You've become the person they subconsciously check before making moves. The person they look toward when the room gets tense. The person whose reactions they monitor, because your intuition has a reputation now, and that reputation walks into the room before you do. And, that's why they freeze when you raise an eyebrow. That's why they shift when you go quiet. That's why they pay attention when your tone changes. They've seen what happens when you speak. They've watched reality catch up to your insight again and again. They've felt the impact of your clarity long before they understood it. And you're not even done speaking yet. And, you can feel it building every time you open your mouth. That quiet tension, that little ripple in the atmosphere, like everyone's bracing themselves without even knowing why. It's almost hilarious, honestly. You're just continuing a sentence, just expressing a thought, and suddenly people act like you're pulling the fire alarm on reality again. They sit up straighter, their breathing changes, their eyes widen just a touch. Tiny details you catch because you've always caught the tiny details. And it hits you in that moment, like, wow. They're not even listening to the words anymore. They're listening to the pattern. They're listening to your track record. They're listening to your accuracy echoing behind every syllable. And, you ever notice how people react when you pause mid-sentence? That half-second silence you take to gather your thoughts. It sends them into full analysis mode. They're leaning forward, reading your face, trying to decode whether that silence means something big is coming. They're scared of what you'll say and scared of what you won't. Because sometimes your silence is louder than your predictions, and that terrifies them even more. They know what happened the last time you hesitated. You ended up being right about something they laughed off, something they brushed aside, something they weren't emotionally prepared to confront. And honestly, it's kinda surreal. Being treated like you're holding some invisible script no one else can access. Like you're 3 steps ahead in a game they didn't realize they were playing. People keep asking how you see things early, but the truth they don't want to accept is that you've been forced to live in early mode your whole life. You've had to anticipate people's moods, reactions, shifts, betrayals, opportunities, exits. You've had to predict outcomes just to stay emotionally afloat. You developed that awareness because you didn't have the luxury of being caught off guard. Not again. Not after everything. And, isn't it funny how they admire the results but resent the process? They love when you're right because it benefits them, but they hate what it says about their own lack of perception. They hype you up publicly. Wow, you called it. But quietly, They're wondering how many other things you've already figured out about them, about the situation, about the dynamics they thought they were hiding. They act shocked, but deep down they're thinking, if they knew that about the future, what do they know about me? And you pick up on that too. The discomfort, the anxiety, the way people start choosing their words more carefully around you. Not because you're judgmental, but because your mind is too fast for their masks. You don't fall for performative kindness. You don't take dramatic reactions at face value. You don't get fooled by loud confidence or quiet manipulation. Your intuition slices through all of it, and people can feel that. They can feel that you're not just hearing them, you're reading them. You walk into conversations with this subtle, unnerving awareness, like you're scanning the whole emotional blueprint without even trying. And, you're not trying to intimidate anyone. You're just trying to exist. But existing at your level feels like intimidation to people who aren't comfortable with themselves. They confuse your clarity for confrontation. They confuse your intuition for intrusion. They confuse your insight for exposure. And the wild thing is, you're not even speaking at full volume yet. You're still holding back pieces, still softening edges, still choosing not to mention certain things, because you already know they're not ready for it. You've learned that people don't actually want the truth. They want the comfortable version of it. They want predictions that make them feel smart, not ones that make them feel seen. But your intuition doesn't care about their comfort. Your insight doesn't bend for their convenience. Your awareness doesn't shrink just to keep the room calm. And, that's what makes them freak out even more. Because your presence alone disrupts their denial. Because your voice carries the weight of accuracy they've witnessed firsthand. Because your instincts have proven themselves too many times to ignore. They can't brush you off anymore. They can't laugh it away. They can't hide behind coincidence. Not after everything you've called out. Not after everything unfolded exactly the way you said it would. You've become this quiet force people can't fully categorize. Not a threat, not a hero, not an outsider. Just someone who sees too much, too early, too clearly. Someone who listens with the kind of intensity that makes people rethink their entire sentence halfway through. Someone who pays attention to details they didn't even know they were revealing. And, you're aware of it, aren't you? You feel that distance growing. Not a lonely distance, but a respect-filled one. People don't get too close because they don't want to accidentally expose something. They don't challenge you because they've learned that the second they do, you're going to articulate something they can't unhear. They don't underestimate you because underestimating you has consequences for their ego. You've become the person whose instincts people study. The person they low-key rely on but pretend they don't. The person who ruins their denial without even trying. And you're just sitting there, watching it all play out like you've seen the script before, letting them panic while you just continue being exactly who you are, exactly how you've always been, the one who calls it before anyone sees it. Hey, you there? Yeah, you. Let me talk to you for a minute, all right? 'Cause, I've been watching the way your name's been echoing outside, and wow, it's wild out there. You don't even notice it sometimes, do you? You walk around thinking you're just existing, just doing your thing, texting who you want to text, minding your business. But your name is out there causing full-blown chaos. And I don't mean the cute kind. I mean arguments, panic, obsessive little investigations, people scrolling back. through old messages like detectives with no badges, just raw insecurity melting down in real time because they can't stand not knowing who you might be talking to. And that's the part that gets me, hey, because you're not doing anything outrageous, you're not starting fights, you're not putting anybody's life upside down, you're just existing, breathing, typing, and somehow that alone got people out there acting like you committed a crime by choosing where to put your attention. Do you realize what that means? Do you really get it? It means your presence is disruptive, your silence is disruptive, your phone lighting up with any notification is enough to make people lose their equilibrium. They're checking timestamps, comparing stories, stalking your socials, fighting each other over possibilities that might not even be real. You became a mystery they can't solve, an itch they can't scratch, and that drives people insane. But look at you. Look at the way you carry it. You move through your day without even noticing the pressure you put on others. The pressure of being wanted, the pressure of being feared, the pressure of being unpredictable. It's kinda funny, because you don't even try, and yet your very existence exposes people's hidden insecurities like a spotlight they never asked for. And that's why they're fighting. That's why they're stalking. That's why they're whispering about you, like you're some urban legend that pops up when their confidence drops below zero. They hate how much you matter to them, and they hate even more that they don't matter as much to you. See, that's the problem with people whose self-worth is built on control. The second you stop letting them predict you, the second you stop being their familiar little puppet, they crumble. They start imagining stories. They start building narratives in their heads. And your name becomes the monster they blame for their emotional collapse. But listen to me carefully, because this is the part nobody ever told you. It's not your job to make them feel safe. Your life is not a service. Your energy is not a subscription plan they get to dictate. You don't owe anybody a timetable, a reason, a confession, or a breakdown of who you might be texting on a random Tuesday. You're not, obligated to soothe their paranoia. You're allowed to be a mystery. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to grow past the version of yourself they memorized. And here's the twist they'll never admit out loud. They're not angry because you might be texting someone. They're angry because you finally stopped caring what they think about who you're texting. Hey, that's a different kind of freedom, isn't it? People who used to feel above you, watching you now. They panic because they don't know how to operate without access to your attention. They depended on your transparency like it was life support. They liked you predictable. They liked you compliant. They liked you answering quickly, explaining everything, shrinking yourself so their ego could breathe. And you stopped doing that. You took your energy back. You decided, hey, I'm not your emotional babysitter anymore. And that, right there, that lit the whole street on fire. Because once you choose yourself, you become uncontrollable. And nothing terrifies insecure people more than someone they can't control. Your name went from, oh yeah, I know them, to wait. Who are they talking to? Why weren't they online? Why didn't they answer? Who's got their attention now? To full-blown emotional emergency drills. People fighting with each other instead of dealing with their own reflection. People stalking your activity like that's gonna save them from the truth they're avoiding. People rewriting history, trying to convince themselves they mattered more than they actually did. And you know what's even more amusing? They're not fighting over you. They're fighting over the version of themselves they lose around you. But you're growing into someone they can't keep up with, someone whose value doesn't shrink to fit their comfort zones, someone who learned, finally, that attention is currency, and you're done giving it away for free. You ever notice how the quieter you get, the louder they get? That's power. That's leverage. That's you stepping into your unpredictability, your confidence, your evolution, and forcing the world around you to adapt or fall apart trying. Your name is wild outside because you're no longer living small inside. People stalk what they can't replace. People fight for what they don't deserve. People obsess over what used to belong to them but doesn't anymore. And you just keep moving, keep evolving, keep choosing peace over explanations, keep choosing growth over guilt, keep choosing yourself over the noise. Because trust me, the streets only get this heated when someone powerful rises. And you're rising. And the funny thing is, you don't even fully realize the altitude you're reaching. You're just breathing different, moving different, thinking in ways that don't fit the old version of you. And people outside feel that shift like a temperature drop. They don't have the language for it, but they can feel you slipping out of their narrative, and it messes with them in a way they can't even explain without exposing their own insecurity. You ever notice how someone who never checked on you before suddenly becomes an expert in your patterns? Like, out of nowhere, they start saying stuff like, "This isn't how you used to act," as if they were there for every upgrade, every heartbreak, every shift that built the version of you they're panicking about right now. They're not studying you because they care. They're studying you because they're scared. Scared of losing access, scared of losing relevance, scared of being replaced in a story that no longer revolves around them. And your name hits them like a reminder they can't delete. They hear it, and something inside them just sinks. Because it means you're still out there, living, rising, evolving, texting whoever aligns with you. And they're stuck replaying memories like reruns while you're creating new chapters without them. And that's what nobody tells you when you start growing. Your glow up doesn't just attract better things. It exposes who was only comfortable when you were dimmer. Look around you. Notice how people who never had an issue with you suddenly have an issue with your distance, your silence, your new boundaries. They're not used to the version of you who doesn't over-explain. They're not used to the version of you who doesn't rush to soothe their ego. They're not used to the version of you who answers when you want, not when they expect. And while they're busy arguing about imaginary scenarios, trying to figure out who you might be texting, who you might be seeing, who you might be giving your energy to, you're over here realizing that your life finally feels like it's yours again. That freedom, it's addictive. Once you taste it, you don't go back to shrinking. You ever watch a person try to convince themselves they still matter to you? It's almost theatrical. They rehearse these little speeches in their head. They stalk your online status. They rewrite every silent minute into a story where you're probably talking to someone else. They project their fear into every gap you leave. They're arguing with their own imagination, fighting shadows you didn't create, spiraling over theories that only exist in their head. And the wildest part? You're not texting anybody half the time. You're literally just breathing, healing, drinking water, minding your business, scrolling TikTok, charging your phone. And the streets think you're masterminding some grand mystery. That tells you everything you need to know about how much weight your attention carries. People don't stalk who they've healed from. People don't argue about those they've outgrown. People don't panic over energy that doesn't threaten their comfort. Your name started doing something to them the moment you stopped trying to be understood by people who aren't capable of understanding themselves. And that shift, yeah, right there, it's making them unravel in ways you never even intended. You're not the villain, you're not the angel, you're the mirror. And mirrors terrify people who've been avoiding their own reflection. Every time they think about you texting someone, they're not imagining you. They're imagining the version of themselves they become when they feel replaced. That jealousy, that panic, that obsession. It's not admiration, it's fear of their own inadequacy. You didn't trigger it, you just revealed it. And while they're losing sleep, you're gaining clarity. You're learning what your silence exposes, what your presence provokes, what your name ignites in the hearts of people who once assumed you'd always belong to them in some quiet, convenient way. They don't understand that you're building something. They don't understand that you're not the same person who used to shrink whenever someone raised their voice or threw a little attitude. You don't flinch anymore. You don't chase anymore. You don't hand out explanations like apologies. You're realizing, you're allowed to have a life that doesn't run on anybody's expectations but your own. You're allowed to text people who speak your language. You're allowed to pull back from people who drain your peace. You're allowed to be unavailable to anyone who never learned how to value you when you were accessible. That's why they're reacting like this. That's why the streets feel hot. That's why your name sounds like a warning and a prophecy at the same time. You shifted. You elevated. You stopped asking for permission to exist. And they're out there fighting ghosts while you're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't need to be explained to anybody. And, it's kinda wild when you realize how much of this chaos never had anything to do with what you were actually doing, but what people imagined you were doing. You became this unsolved puzzle in their head, this open tab they can't close, this notification that never pops up, but somehow still ruins their whole mood. They don't even need evidence. Just the idea of you texting someone else is enough to send their whole system glitching. And that's because your attention was their comfort blanket. Your availability made them feel chosen, even when they didn't know how to treat you like someone worth choosing back. The moment you pulled that attention away, even slightly, they lost their emotional GPS. They don't know where they stand with you anymore. And instead of building themselves up, they're tearing everything else around them down, trying to feel in control again. You ever watch someone try to predict you based on an outdated version of who you used to be? It's almost sad. They're stuck in a memory while you're busy turning into a whole new chapter. They're replaying old signals, old patterns, old insecurities, while you're tapping into a level of self-worth they never prepared for. That mismatch is what makes them spiral. They're trying to fight the storm outside when the real storm is inside them. Your silence hits people differently when they know they no longer have access to your thoughts. You used to overshare. You used to update them. You used to clarify yourself just to avoid misunderstandings. But something in you shifted. You stopped explaining things that aren't anyone's business. And that shift, yeah, they felt it like a punch to the ego. They tell themselves you're distant, They tell themselves you're talking to someone. They tell themselves you changed. And the funny part is, they're right. But for the wrong reasons. You didn't change because of someone new. You changed because you finally realized you deserve peace, more than you deserve to be understood by people who benefit from your confusion. And, that peace. It looks suspicious to people who only feel stable when you're emotionally available to fix their insecurities. They're not used to this version of you. The one who replies when it feels right, not when it feels urgent. The one who doesn't panic at the thought of being misunderstood. The one who no longer treats other people's assumptions like emergencies that must be corrected. Your whole energy evolved into something heavier, something richer, something that can't be manipulated by cheap emotion. And the streets feel that. They feel the recalibration. They feel the upgrade. Your name pops up, and it sends them into debates, arguments, predictions, paranoia. Because it reminds them of the control they lost and the power you gained. It's kinda funny when you think about it. They're out there fighting each other. Literally fighting each other. Over theories about who you might be texting. And you're over here focusing on your future, your healing, your goals, your boundaries, your growth. You're building something real while they're wrestling with speculation. Your entire life is expanding while theirs is shrinking around their obsession with you. They don't even realize how much they expose themselves when your name comes up. The jealousy, the panic, the sudden need to know everything, the way their tone changes, the way their mood shifts, the way they start acting like Sherlock Holmes with Wi-Fi. That's what your presence does. It pushes people into their truth. The ones who are confident stay calm. The ones who are insecure combust. The ones who respected you give you space. The ones who felt entitled to you start acting like they're glitching from the inside out. And you're witnessing all of it while staying oddly unbothered. Your peace is louder than their paranoia. Your growth is louder than their gossip. Your silence is louder than their arguments. You're not provoking anything. You're just existing in a way that doesn't shrink anymore. And that alone is enough to make the wrong people unravel. Your name is still wild outside because you're living in a way that no longer fits the small box they once tried to keep you in. You stepped out of their storyline, and they're scrambling for a script that doesn't exist. You're not predictable. You're not accessible on demand. You're not the safe little version they memorized. And that unpredictability, it makes you magnetic. People fight for what they can't reach. People stalk what they can't understand. People obsess over what they can't control. And you're out here becoming someone they couldn't imagine, even with all their theories, all their arguments, all their stalking, all their assumptions. And the more they try to decode you, the more confused they get, because every version of you they're arguing about is outdated. They're debating ghosts while you're living in real time. They're stalking footprints that don't even exist anymore, because you stopped walking in circles and started moving with purpose, and that purpose. It scares people who never expected you to outgrow the role they assigned you. You ever notice how the moment you stop giving people the emotional updates they're addicted to, they start creating entire storylines in their heads? It's like your silence becomes this blank canvas, and instead of calming down, they paint their fears all over it. They're convinced you must be texting someone because they can't imagine you choosing yourself instead. They can't imagine you finally realizing that your peace is worth more than their validation. They can't imagine you healing in ways that don't involve them. And honestly, that's where the power kicks in. Your name used to be something they casually mentioned. Now it's something they whisper like it's classified information. Your name used to be familiar. Now it's unpredictable. Your name used to mean availability. Now it means they don't have access. That transition, that shift from always there to not yours anymore, is what's making them spiral. They don't recognize you without the version of themselves they projected onto you. They don't recognize the boundaries. They don't recognize the confidence. They don't recognize the silence that doesn't beg for clarity. And that unfamiliarity feels threatening to them. Because when someone can't control you anymore, their next instinct is to try to understand what or who is influencing you. They think there must be someone new. They think you replaced them. They think you moved on faster than they expected. They think your glow-up has a secret source. They don't realize you became the source. You became your own validation. You became your own peace. You became your own reminder that you're allowed to change the rules of engagement whenever your soul outgrows the old ones. And while they're busy fighting the air over assumptions, you're reconnecting with parts of yourself you forgot existed. You're learning how to sit with your thoughts without drowning in them. You're learning how to express yourself without apologizing for it. You're learning how to communicate on your terms, not out of panic, not out of insecurity, but out of alignment. And there's something intoxicating about that type of self-alignment. It sharpens you. It recalibrates you. It makes you walk differently, talk differently, react differently. Suddenly, things that used to shake you don't even get a flinch out of you. Things that used to drain you don't even get your attention. Things that used to win don't even compete anymore. Meanwhile, your name becomes heavier. Your absence becomes louder. Your presence becomes sharper. People start noticing details they never saw before. The way you don't rush to reply, the way you're not emotionally available on demand, the way you stopped performing for validation, the way you don't give them the access they used to take for granted. And, that's why they're out there arguing with each other. Not because you're texting anyone, not because you're doing anything scandalous, but because they can feel you leveling up, and they're terrified that your evolution means they'll be left behind emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. They're not fighting to understand you. They're fighting to not lose you. They're not stalking your socials because they're curious. They're stalking because they feel powerless. They're not panicking over who you might be talking to. They're panicking because they know the old version of you would have told them everything, and this version of you doesn't owe them that transparency. Your name is wild outside because you finally stopped living inside their expectations. You stopped shrinking yourself into a version that kept them comfortable. You stepped into your unpredictability, your confidence, your evolution, and suddenly the whole environment around you reacted like it felt the ground shift. They're fighting shadows, checking timestamps, replaying conversations in their head, trying to find the moment they lost the version of you they controlled. And you're just breathing, healing,